Hello, today I'm gonna read my story I made. I forgot the name. It's in the video right now. It's a good story. The best story actually. I'll read it. The windy island was quieter than usual. A young dark-skinned lady sat in her home at her desk. She was pondering a map of sorts. She stood up from her desk and walked to her bed, laying down in it and resting. She was transported to the dream sphere, a world not like our own at all. She hurried into the mall, meeting with an android whose exterior is as white as the snow outside. "Yunoya!" the lady called out. "Yes? Do you require assistance in your heist?" The android responded, almost as if she was reading her mind. "What? How did you?" She responded, astounded. "I noticed the latest trend involving raiding a well-known cult. I know how fixated you become on what seems to have more under the surface we see. So I presume that's what you came to me for." Yunoya spoke matter-of-factly. "Well, that's right. Look, as much as I hate those gangsters, I know you're connected with them in some way. I need you to get as many as you can out of the prison they reside in." "I don't think they'd do anything without being paid." Yunoya shook her head. Nishatra sighed. "Of course they wouldn't. Look, tell them I know a really good burger joint in the dream sphere, and I'll take them all there for free if they help me." "That would do it. Those gangsters love their ultra-processed sawdust meat. I'll get to work as soon as possible. Come back to me in precisely 2 hours and 40 minutes. "This means so much to me," Nishatra responded. "I can't stick around. I have others to recruit." "May Josepha assist you." Yunoya bowed her head. Nishatra left, going to the Pink Swamp to recruit Richardson, then to recruit the Minstrel Bloxer, and so on. It didn't take too long to gather a healthy group of people together as the time said by the robot passed. She returned to the mall to see a giant crowd of mafia men, one sticking out more than the rest. "Wow, how did all of them escape?" Nash responded, her eyes wide as her eyes scaled the crowd of people. Why'd I say that? "It's a very long, very boring story, though they are all willing to do this task." Yunoya glanced to the side. The tallest mafia stepped in front of Nishatra, looming over her somewhat menacingly. He leaned down, getting in her face. "I will never forgive you," he responded in a low voice. "I don't expect it." Nash responded, seeming a bit guilty. Richardson stepped in front of Nishatra, crossing his arms. "Let's not be enemies. We all have the same end goal here," Richardson said while trying to have a more intimidating stance than the mafioso. The mafioso glared at the swordsman before stepping back. Nash stood up straight, walking over to the desk next to Yunoya. "Okay, so we've all seen the news of teenagers raiding the building of a dangerous group. I believe there's more that meets the eye. So my plan with this map created by said children," she held up the unfinished map, "we will uncover the truth and bring justice to those deceased." Adelaide and Richardson cheered. "Let's do this, Sleepy Walker!" Adelaide shouted while clapping. "One problem with this plan. Scientology is in Seattle, and as residents of the Dream Sphere, none of you live anywhere near the Earth." Nash responded sheepishly. Squire sighed, putting his hands on his hips. "Well, how will we get there then? Or was this another waste of time?" "Well, surely Cassie and Kazas have some sort of spell." Nash looked at the witch sisters. Cassia lifted her wand up. "For the convenience of not creating a plot hole in this nonsensical story, I actually do." She waved her wand before shouting a spell. "Seatus teleportus!" Gay. Nishatra, Yunoya, Adelaide, Richardson, Yunoya's right hand, Squire, Maidman, Cassia, Kazas, and Stella were teleported. Nishatra looked around. "Where is everybody else?" Cassia looked sheepish. "Oh, my spell only tells. No matter. If you can rescue me from a dangerous temple, I'm sure this will be a simple task with the people we have." Yunoya stepped in front of the doors of Scientology, assessing the doors closely. They removed the door handles and put government-grade locks on them. "Well, how do we enter now?" the right-hand man said, seeming irritated. Nishatra equipped her blue crowbar. "Simple. Brute force." She walked up to the door. "The locks may be up to the highest of quality, but they aren't indestructible." She began prying at the doors, struggling to wedge in the end of the crowbar. Yunoya grabbed the crowbar. "Allow me. Save your strength for what lies inside." Yunoya broke the door wide open in one swift movement. Inside, they saw a father and his son speaking to the woman at the desk. Nishatra ran inside, shouting, "Hey, get out! It's a cult!" The father and son were startled and quickly left. The woman at the desk was pissed. Everyone else from the outside ran inside and ran through the building, Nishatra being the guide with her map. This way, this way! She hollered. They were quickly stopped by a Scientology member who used their body as a barricade while the other members from behind ran to apprehend them. Maidman slammed his body against the cult member, causing them both to fall. I'll catch up when I can! Run! Maidman called out to the group. They all ran, trying to avoid the members as they could, but their journey was cut short when they made it downstairs near the basement. They saw her, Shannon. She grinned sinisterly, approaching Nishatra. Richardson was quick to get by her side. Who are you? I am Shannon, she said in a dark and twisted voice, holding a devil's pitchfork. Your journey ends here, you freaks. You will never find out our secrets. I stepped forward. This is a public building where you openly let people enter. It's unfair to stop us. What are you gonna do about it, you bucket of boats? Shannon hissed at Eunoia. Maidman stumbled in just in time. He stared at the demonic being, staying close to the group and pulling out his weapon. Eunoia swiftly gripped her by the neck. She tore Shannon in half, a dark black goop coming from where blood should. Richardson's eyes widened. Wow, she wasn't a human. Maidman admired the strength from the android woman. Oh my. Shannon laughed maniacally. Oh, perfect! You have just made a grave mistake, you moron! My soul will return when you least expect it, and I will win! She then died. Eunoia was unfazed. She made it to the door, realizing it had a special code lock on it. Eunoia looked to Nishatra. This should be hackable. Nishatra walked towards the door, still a bit shaken by Shannon. Right. Richardson stayed close to her the whole time. He scanned the area, noticing the right-hand man was looking a bit pale in the face. Did she freak you out too? He asked the mafioso. She isn't bluffing. I can feel her presence. He muttered, his hand on his sword. Stay alert. Richardson felt uneasy by the response he got from the man. Alright. I'll do that. The door was hacked open. Nishatra gestured for everybody to follow inside. They head downstairs. The quality of the room slowly turns dark. The walls were made of cobblestone and only torches lit the downstairs. This reminds me of my home, Stella commented. They noticed the prison cells where decaying corpses laid. Adelaide was disturbed. Did they just leave these people here? It seems so. Stella responded to Adelaide. Soon enough, they all reached the next room, which was the exact same thing, just endless corridors of prison cells with dead or barely alive people. This may be where they keep those who try to leave, the right-hand man mentioned briefly. Might not be too far from it, Squire responded, seeming creeped out. He stood closer to the mafioso. Richardson heard a sudden noise from behind. He pulled out his shotgun, aiming at the source. The group stopped in their tracks, trying to figure out what is there. From beyond the shadows, an alien appeared. Richardson got startled and shot it until his shotgun was empty. Squire jumped into Mafioso's arms, shaking. Oh my god, aliens are real? Nishatra said in disbelief, taking her derby off. But they're supposed to be fiction. Nash turned to Stella. Could you get a sample from the carcass? I need to do research when we get back. Stella nodded. She pulled out a switchblade, slicing off a portion of the rubbery flesh and putting it into a bag. She handed the bag to Nash, who put it in her pocket. We can't dwell on this too long. We have to keep going. As they kept walking, they noticed a room with flashing lights. The group stopped in their tracks. What is that? Cassia questioned. Kazis adjusted her glasses. Seems like some sort of brainwashing room. The mafioso stepped forward. Ridiculous. Who could have their mind altered by lights? Kazis stepped next to him. It's simpler than just the lights. If the frequencies hit as high as 40 hertz, then it can align neurons in the brain and cause hallucinations or seizures. This also leads the mind to be more open to suggestions like... He just went inside. Stella cut off Kazis. Shit! Someone has to get him out of there! Richardson exclaimed. He turned to Nash. Nishatra! You're the only one with your eyes closed and still somehow able to see. You have to get him. Nash sighed. She walked inside and saw him frozen in place, staring directly into the lights. Nishatra grabbed his hand. Hey, Mafia, we have to leave. He didn't budge. Nishatra pulled harder. He collapsed to the floor and she ended up dragging him out. He was still in a trance, unresponsive to the world around him. Nishatra straddled him and slapped him across the face. "Awake, damn you!" The mafioso was brought back to reality, disoriented. He noticed Nash sitting on his lap and became sheepish suddenly. "You are on top of me." "You went into the room specifically while Kazis explained how dangerous this technology can be, you fool!" Nash scolded the taller man. "Apologies," he said softly. "Okay, we're getting off track. May we please continue moving forward? We're wasting our time here," Nishatra said with annoyance while standing up. "She's right. I think we're getting close to these secrets," Richardson mentioned while pointing at a door labeled staff only. The group hurries inside and is met with a giant cabinet of files, all in alphabetical order. Before Nash is able to reach for the files, a robotic hand grabs her. She screams. Richardson aimed his shotgun at the source, but lowered it as he saw who it was. It was Mecca Epstein and Tom Cruise. "Hello, my adventurers," Tom Cruise said sinisterly. "Trying to steal my secrets?" "Hey, isn't that guy dead?" Squire called out while pointing to Mecca Epstein. "Was dead, but I repaired him and made him stronger than ever," Tom Cruise cackled sinisterly. "Put Nishatra down," Richardson said with a hatred in his voice, finger on the trigger. "Not so fast! Shoot any of us, and..." Mecca Epstein's robot hand turns into a knife. We will make her a part of Scientology forever." Richardson was stuck. He didn't want Nishatra to be hurt, but he also wanted to kill this guy for threatening her life. "Usually I would have had you all exited from the premises, but since you've gone too far and seen too much, you have to become members of Scientology," Tom Cruise said while petting a cat on his lap. The right-hand man stepped forward. "I am willing." "What? Are you insane?" Squire exclaimed. He grabbed his arm. "No, you can't. As your half-brother, I forbid it!" Mafioso pulled his arm away and stared at him before slowly looking away and stepping forward to Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise put his hands together. "Perfect. Now we will begin initiation. You will be a powerful soldier with our power." Tom Cruise held out his hand. The right-hand man swiftly pulled out his sword and pierced it through his heart. Mecca Epstein was close to killing Nishatra before Mafioso kicked him in the head, causing him to drop Nishatra. She fell to the ground, coughing and hacking. "Go! Quickly!" he called to her. She stumbled to her feet and ran back to Richardson, who caught her before she fell. Squire stood there, his mouth open, before smiling wide. "Hell yeah, Mafioso!" he cheered. "Are you okay?" Richardson asked with a fear in his voice. Mecca Epstein got back up and tried to attack Mafioso, but Eunoia stepped in. "You may have android-like upgrades, but your human nature keeps your combat skills lacking." An epic battle ensued with Mecca Epstein, Mafioso, and Eunoia. Richardson put an end to it once he got a clear shot of Mecca Epstein, but the battle wasn't over. With the power of aliens and Shannon's spirit, the bodies fused together and created Mecha Jeffrey Cruz Shannon. The right-hand man seemed uncertain of this new opponent. He stared at the android. What is the probability of us surviving?" 42.67%. Though with your special abilities, the probability will be 82%. Eunoia responded. Mafioso was nervous. He gave up using his EXE form after nearly killing all of the Dream Sphere. But he still cared for his brother, and if using his EXE form to win the fight meant keeping his brother safe, well... Richardson put a hand on Mafioso's shoulder. "Hey, wanna do it together? I know it's scary, but we have to." The right-hand man hesitated before grabbing Richardson's hand. They both transformed into their evil.exe form. The sheer energy of the transformation set Mecha Jeffrey Cruz Shannon flying into the wall. Cassia stared in awe. "This is magic I've never seen before." Mafioso.exe and Richardson.exe charged at Mecha Jeffrey Cruz Shannon, digging their hyper-realistic claws into the amalgamation. "We are God!" they called out with a roar. Nishatra chucked a tech sack at the creature, the poisonous studs seeping into its skin. It cried in pain. Cassie was quickly brewing a potion of destruction, while Kazis and Stella took as many files as they could. Richardson.exe was harmed severely, falling to the ground. Adelaide quickly pulled him away to help. I can still fight! I am a god! He called in rage. Well, God, you're bleeding out, Adelaide said while wrapping his wounds up. Cassia threw the potion at Mafioso.exe, who caught it and shoved it down the mouth of the monster. The monster expanded rapidly. Run! Mafioso.exe screamed. They all ran out of the room and shut the door, the explosion visible through the window. Everyone stood around in silence. Do you think it's dead? Maid Man asked. I looked out the window. 100% will not come back to kill us. Nash stayed close by Richardson.exe. You need to calm down, Richardson. Richardson.exe shook his head, trying to breathe slowly. I am trying! Mafioso calmed himself completely, losing his EXE form. He stared at Richardson.exe with slight concern. Is he going to be alright? Adelaide nodded. Of course, he just has a more difficult time coming down from his EXE form than you. Stella and Kazis walked in front of the group with the files. Look what we managed to shave. Nash was overjoyed. She was quick to open the files. Let's see. They read through it together. Israel? Mechas? Aliens? Chitlins? Stella exclaimed in confusion. They use chitlins to recruit members? And Arby's just made a chitlins burger, Nash called out. Scientology is using Arby's as a recruitment muse. Let's look at this all later. I feel we're being watched. The right-hand man intruded. I nodded. He's right. There's still cameras in here. No, it's not that. It's... Mafioso had a sword pierced through his heart. Mafia! Nash shouted. The sword was withdrawn and the stabber behind him. It was Richardson. Why, Richardson? Nash practically screamed. Oh, I'm not Richardson. I'm Shannon, he said with an evil laugh. Kazis gasped. You demon! You are not leaving this building without my hard work, Shannon said with rage. You could try to kill me, but I will always come back with a new body! Mafioso tried crawling off, leaving a blood trail. Shannon finished him off by decapitating him. Squire watched in horror, unable to peel his eyes away from his dead brother. In a fit of rage, Squire charged at Shannon with his sword. You motherfucker! He jumped up, ready to cleave through her skull, but was skewered by the sword. He was tossed to the side by his brother's corpse. He put a hand over the wound, coughing up blood. Maid Man rushed to his side, taking off his scarf to slow the bleeding. Shit, what do we do? She's more powerful than ever while harvesting his EXE powers. Stella exclaimed to the group still living. Nishatra thought, then she got on her knees in prayer. What are you doing? This isn't the time for prayer! Adelaide tried to get her up from the floor. I know what I'm doing. Just distract her. Nishatra sat back on the ground. Adelaide chose to trust her. And Adelaide formed together to create a distraction, buying enough time for proper prayer. By the time Shannon realized what was happening, it was too late. Josepha descended from the sky, being a barely comprehensible being to the human eye. Josepha, you heard my pleads! Nishatra exclaimed in joy. Josepha turned its attention to the woman possessing Richardson. Do you really think you're more powerful than our god? Shannon taunted. Shannon was then evaporated by the power of Josepha. This body isn't yours, it said with a soft, calm voice. Richardson fell to the ground, dizzy and disoriented. Richardson looked around and saw Mafioso dead, Squire in critical condition, and everyone around him. What happened? I approached him. The devil used your body like a puppet. We created a distraction long enough for divine intervention. Richardson stood up, looking at the corpse. So, the Mafioso's dead? Unfortunately. But maybe it's for the best. She looked down at his body. He never liked living, constantly drinking, doing dangerous things on purpose in hopes of death. Wherever he ended up, we can only hope he's happy there. I glanced back at the Squire, who was already grieving heavily at the loss of his only blood-related family. Nishatra put the files in her bag. Let's go home, Cassia. Cassia nodded, waving her wand. Dream Spherus, teleportus. They were all transported back The other mafiosos waiting stood up, bombarding the others with tons of questions.
Hey, where's the big guy?
A goon asked. Squire didn't answer, staying close to Maid Man, the only sense of familiarity he had left. The Maid Man put his arm around Squire. He ain't here no more. Y'all should give us some space. The mafiosos removed their hats, paying respect. Richardson took off his wig, mimicking the others. You know, I've got a confession. The mafiosos turned their heads to Richardson. I actually knew the guy. Pretty well, actually. We always talked on props for sale. It's a shame I never got to tell him how I feel. Nash rested a hand on Richardson's bicep in an attempt to comfort him. How did you feel? Well, I loved him. More than just a friend. At night, I imagined a life with him, but... Richardson teared up. That isn't possible. I approached Richardson. He's happier now. He would love to see you smile. Richardson wiped his tears, grinning as another tear fell down his face. You're right. I need to be strong. For him. I walked over to Squire, who was crying in a Maid Man's shoulder. Squire. Squire looked over to Eunoia, his eyes red and watery. Your attempt at revenge was reckless, but Mafioso would have been proud to see it. Squire wiped his eyes. Really? Your brother loves you very much, and if he were still with you, he would have wanted you to learn and grow from this experience. Eunoia said while resting a hand on her chest. Time will move forward, whether he's here or not. It's painful to move on, yes, but required. Squire stood up straighter than before. You're right, boss. I need to keep moving forward. Don't forget to confide in those who you rely on. Grief will only be temporary. Eunoia bowed before turning to Nishatra. This was a dangerous task, yet everyone, myself included, were overjoyed to be on this journey. Nishatra nodded. Yeah, I gotta get home to look over these files. She hurried off. Eunoia waved goodbye to her as she ran into the moonlight.